You're okay? I don't finesse it too much. As long as
Yeah.
we're good to go. Cool. You've had an eventful couple weeks. How are you holding up with everything on top of your usual job?
I think overall well. It's there's issues that come up from time to time. We have to deal with them in a professional setting and move on. And so I'm still enjoying the position. Although yes, it's been a difficult couple of weeks.
What'd you think of last night? The meeting on the bright side, you had some people, from what I understand, people who spoke in favor.
Yeah, I mean it is nice to see some support from the community, some support from the department and the commission, and I think you have to have those three components. So that's nice. We have to work together as a team.
What do you think people are feeling in general in the community, or what should they feel with everything they hear going on with complaints and different sides of things?
Sure. Well, there's a lot going on in the current environment, and there's a lot that has occurred in the past couple of years, and specifically even in the last 15 months in terms of change within the Fargo Police Department. And so some of it is a culmination of all of those things. We've had staffing issues that have preceded, my tenure in terms of adding positions, and I think that's just about every law enforcement agency is struggling with that. But certainly we've got one that we have to deal with now. I think the commission doing their due diligence, putting together a plan is a great idea. I'm happy to work with them to make sure that the department is running as best as it can and making sure that the city's safe and the cops are safe. And they absolutely are. We've got cops out there doing tremendous work every day.
And I know it's still so new, with the new action plan that they're working, are you involved in the process putting that together? Or they just say, here it is, do it?
Yeah, no, I will be, and so we'll be working, as a group to put that together. So I think some of the tenets that they put out last night are basically these are the areas that they're concerned with or they want to make sure that we're addressing. So we have already started strategic planning, and that's already in place. This plan will fit well into that strategic planning process and allow us to then set some priorities, goals, and objectives around what the commission also wants to see.
Okay. We heard some either officers or former officers use words like toxic, and what do you think is leading to some of their feelings? What did that catch you off guard, and how would you attribute that?
Well, again, it's been a difficult time for law enforcement, and now we've done some changes. There's been a lot of changes in the last 15 months. There is a lot of PTSD and mental health in our profession and in our department, and we've dealt with this numerous times just in the 15 months I've been there. So I know that that's an aspect. I think at a certain point, some people have just maybe reached their limit, but many of those issues were also ongoing. Maybe they became worse because they just the change is too much at times as well. But I don't want to argue with someone's opinion, but I know that the department is on the right track and we're heading in the right direction, and we're doing everything we can to retain good personnel, to support them in the field and to make the department more efficient and to continue to make Fargo safe.
Do you see this as a bit of an issue of there's the oversight committee and there's groups that are trying to reform police, and you're probably on that side, versus there are some police who don't want things changed and they're the ones who are complaining, or what is the dynamic?
Sure. So as a chief, you really have to navigate the middle, because absolutely, I support our officers. I want to make sure that they have an environment they can work in, one in which they feel they can bring suggestions up and issues so that we can solve them as a department and make things better. And sometimes they get answers they don't like. I mean, that's also a reality, I guess, as well. But the external community, that's an important component too. And I think it's important, at least in my position, that we have to be able to recognize all of those concerns and address as many as we can. As a general rule, everyone would say the Fargo community supports our department, large majority, right? But there's also segments of the community that are suspect of what we do, and that's our continual challenge. We're very happy to have the support of the community at large that we do, but we also want to try and grow that. This city, while I understand Fargo is different and Fargo's traditionally kind of a different city in a sense, is really growing into kind of a metropolitan kind of city. We've got a lot of ethnic diversity that's coming into the city. With all of those things, you start to see different issues that affect mid to larger cities. And I think for us to be successful as a police department, we have to be adaptable to that. We have to understand that. We don't always have to agree with everything, but we certainly have to listen, be respectful, and then Let's try and address the issues we can. Let's form the relationships that we can, because that's what's going to keep the police department in a successful position and keep our community safe.
It sounds like you see this a little bit of like a growing pains as the city is adjusting.
In a sense, I think that's, it's even beyond the police department. I think that's true. I mean, you see this in other areas of the city as well, from planning to, the Human Relations Committee, which I think just changed their name to Human Rights Committee. And so there's a lot of things that are changing, and, you have to just be adaptive, I think, if you're going to continue forward.
You mentioned it a little bit as you're talking about. You still, it sounds like you still feel supported. Do you feel supported both in your job from the community or from the committees or from the public?
Yeah, I think by and large, I mean, I've gotten a lot of support internally from our department members, and we've had a lot of in-depth conversations, myself, the executive staff. One of the things we put in place to allow for communication from the line level to the top, to the chief, really, was our shift representative team. And that's a group of line level people, both sworn and civilian, across the department. So, and they are not reticent to bring up issues or concerns. We've had meetings, it's supposed to be an hour meeting. We have been in there probably 3 hours, some of those meetings, discussing some of their concerns that they brought up that maybe at my level, at our executive level, we weren't hearing from the in-betweens for whatever reason. And that's part of a transition and a cultural change as well. So, as soon as we started hearing that, we did start looking and working on, okay, what does this look like, and what, let's verify the information and let's try and address it. So this kind of culminated after that had already begun, but certainly I think people have a voice in our department, and we want them to be able to do that.
What meetings were those that you're getting? These
Shift representatives meetings.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's been going on for about a year. So
what does that even mean? What does it mean?
So basically we put out throughout the department different divisions, units, and shifts for representatives who basically want to be the person on the ground to represent their group or their team and bring those issues forward. So we meet once a month, and we have those discussions with that whole group. There's probably 15 people on the group now. We've added some new members this year with the changes in shifts and assignments. But that group, we've had a lot of great discussions over the course of the last year, and that has helped us and myself at my level understand some things that we may not have been aware of. So I think it's been great.
Okay. Do you feel like you've been treated fairly through the process, or this kind of caught you off guard?
It's not really life's not fair, right? So, I mean, I'm in a position where we have to answer to all kinds of other people. The media has questions as well. I always say that I certainly appreciate the opportunity to put context to any information. I don't think there's much that you can look at and go, okay, that number is 3, so that means this, without knowing more about the issue. And so in terms of educating our commission, and we've got commissioners that are interested in learning more, I fully support that. Our community, they're interested in education, even about the law, and we've done a number of things along those lines. And our department communications, so that they understand why we're doing certain things. And, I try to be as intentional as possible about informing them before we actually go before a public body, so that they have a heads up of here's what's coming, or here's what we're looking at, and taking their Q&A. And again, understanding that not everyone may be supportive of a certain concept, or maybe not even like it initially. They take body cameras, for instance. Most people, I think, saw the benefit, but there wasn't, it was 100%. I think now that you would probably, if you would check with them, you would see that by and large they recognize how much that has helped them, because 99% of the time our cops are doing a great job. They're doing the right things. Now we have another mechanism to help support them in that effort, and also help create some trust in the community, because there's times where they don't trust us to the level, if I tell you this is what happened, seeing it is believing it, and that kind of helps build those bonds.
In news, sometimes we look at other TV stations, and we can copy ideas or steal ideas, or we can see things we don't like. Are there other police departments that you've looked at, or you communicate with? You go, we need to get this idea from here, or we don't want this, that wouldn't work here. Is there a lot of communication between them, or are you kind of on your own?
Sure. No, actually I have a very large network. I'm on the IACP board. I'm also vice chair in the mid-sized agencies, which represents departments of our size. So, those networks really allow me an opportunity to talk to chiefs all across the country to get that kind of input and perspective. And that's why I've said many times that you can't go anywhere without finding these same issues in police departments. And a lot of it is the times we're in, and all the things that are happening. So along with changes and things of that nature. But in looking at best practice and how should the police department run and what's the best way to, address certain issues, I look at locally. I do talk to our local people as well, but I look to the ICP and their guidance in terms of best practice and, what's been vetted, what's recommended, and so I've got that kind of input as well. And so some of those things has helped move the department towards better technology, body cameras. We've got online reporting coming, which frankly, a lot of the cops out of the gate were saying, why don't we get online reporting? That's a great idea. We should do that. And that's coming in the next month here. We're just working through a couple of IT issues. So I think it's a blend of, there's things that I see from my perspective and having that outreach, but there's also things internally that the cops, our commanders recognize need to be done, and we try and incorporate all of that.
Is there anything you're hoping that comes out of the performance action plan? There's something you're pushing for, something you want to come out of it?
Well, the big thing is our officer wellness program, and I think that is a huge need in our department. That's very evident. We are on our way now to have a more comprehensive mental health program where we can do annual mental health checks, really for all our personnel. We had a Zoom meeting earlier today with a company that's going to bring in a more comprehensive heart screening process, and heart disease is the #1 killer of law enforcement, and that's a big deal. And there's a lot of things that, even with our annual checks, aren't being done to identify those things that might lead to a death. And so we want to do everything we can to keep our officers healthy throughout the course of their career and have those regular maintenance checks. And it's, above and beyond your heart, it's your diet, it's all these other things that will help our officers get through, in a sense, kind of survive healthy in a healthy way their career, because we want them to, and the better they are, the better their service is to the community.
It has to be super stressful. Difficult for lifestyle.
Absolutely. And to sleep, you think about the sleep things, there's just a number of things that this program is going to be across the board. And we've got putting together a team right now. We'll be sending some folks down to the Officer Wellness and Safety Committee meeting in Atlanta in April. They're going to come back, and we're going to lay this program out and get it going.
Has the city been supporting the police department enough?
I think the commission has given us great support. We did a lot of work on the reorganization plan. And again, 15 months in the chief's world is a short amount of time, I think, to accomplish the things that have been done. I mean, we reorged the department, we created new positions, we created new roles and responsibilities, did a new shift schedule, did new promotional processes. We had great participation in our promotional processes. I think that's an indicator that we've got some motivated people that want to take the department to the next level. We brought in technology, and so lots really happened, and I think we're moving in a really great direction.
Are you worried it's too much change? I think that's part of the complaints.
Well, I think in some respects, yeah. The pace of it, and sometimes it comes in large chunks, and then there's a dry period, and then there's more, dependent on the individual, I think that might be hard to navigate. We do the best we can to try and prepare people, navigate them through the change, and then kind of steer them towards success, if you will. But yeah, understandably, it's more difficult for some folks than others to be. Some are more just adaptive naturally. Some, it just takes a little longer to get that. And so we have to be cognizant, I do as well, that, not everyone's at this level, and we got to wait for others to catch up, I think.
Just swore in, was it 4 or 5 new officers?
5 new officers,
Five
yeah.
New officers. So that I assume that helps.
Oh, and that was great. And, you look at these people coming on, and I met with them ahead of time and had many of these conversations, and, they're aware of what's happening in the environment, but they are still committed to serving the community, and they understand the stress, the risk, and all that's being asked of them, which is a lot. We ask a lot of our cops. But they're also still, in spite of that, willing to serve. They're committed to the organization. They're committed to the city. And that is really gratifying from my perspective to know that we've still got people out there that really want to do this job, and we have to support them because those numbers are dwindling, not just here, but across the country. And so I think it's important that together as a city team, we are supporting that, and I think we've got that support.
With the stress of the job and everything that goes with it, do you expect, like in TV, a little inside baseball, like we're used to smaller stations losing reporters every few years, move on to bigger jobs. Do you expect there to be more turnover than you're used to? It's a matter of filling those jobs again, or return back to more of a you're in your job for a while?
I think, at some point you're going to see things level out. Are we there yet? I don't know. I think we're getting closer. We've got some folks, though, that are coming up for retirement this year. So one of the things we're going to propose is some type of a retention incentive, something that maybe allows us to keep them on through the fall or the end of the year with some incentive for them to help us catch up with these we got a class of 25 cops starting in May. They'll graduate in August. That's going to be a big plus, but they have to be trained. And so to help the rest of the department get through the summertime, early fall time, we're looking at some options there. So I'm hopeful that'll be successful.
We get 10 for 2 more.
Do you have anything else you wanted to add? Do you have a message for the community or for anything?
Really just, the message for the community is that I am extremely proud to be in this position. We have an excellent department. They are safe. I really want to emphasize to the community, they are safe. And you're safe because of the concerted efforts of our officers. Every day, every hour, they are out there responding to these calls. They're making sure that public safety issues are being addressed. They're working together as a team. And if nothing else, I think in the last week and a half, I see that team growing stronger because of some of the adversity. So as challenging as it might have been, I think that there is a positive as we move forward.
Great. Okay. You're good? We're good.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.